Yeah, so I think a lot of people know me, Christian Webb. I'm the CEO of Big Construction Branding, part of ABC and AGC Carolinas. This is Josh Mauney. Am I saying that right?
You are, yeah.
Yeah, there we
Yep.
go.
Yep.
Everybody knows you. How many times have you been here? What, like 20 years now?
It seems that maybe 100, but yeah.
Yeah. So Josh was nice enough to come in here with us and actually give me the time with an interview. We're going to go over 6 or 7 questions here that I think the community needs to hear our opinions on. Hopefully it helps, and hopefully we can go somewhere with that. Okay. Question 1 is: do you think the commercial construction industry has an overall brand issue? It's a great question. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, having grown up in the industry, there's a lot of stigma. There's a lot of stereotypes. And that certainly has created an issue with recruiting, branding, attracting talent, young people. Yeah. I also think we haven't fully rebounded from the recession of 07, 08. A lot of people left the industry, folks that were in executive positions and even folks in trade jobs, and we've just never gotten them back. They have found something else and moved on, and so it's challenging.
Like their entire families went a different direction.
Yeah.
Because like if they went that direction, then their kids are going to go that direction. So you're kind of losing an entire stream of individuals.
Absolutely.
I have this conversation all the time. I feel like it's sad to me that an industry that's so amazing, like the only brand they show parents and kids is the dirty guy on the side of the road in a ditch.
Yep.
Like think about that. If you were a kid's parents, they're 16 years old, they're asking you what they should do with their life, and your only impression of construction is a guy in a ditch digging a hole. Would you recommend them to be in construction?
No, I mean, and you're right. And if you look at, even just things that are available on cable television, dirty jobs and things like that, it almost adds fuel to that fire. And I would say no. I mean, it's and a lot of times those folks are shown in situations that are not the safest. They're not only dirty, they're not only dusty, they're not only hot, they may not be the safest. They may be
in danger.
Right.
You're not going to recommend your kid to do that.
Right.
That's really important because I mean, there's like 2 generations between me and the youngest person, maybe even 3 generations now. I guess I'm getting older, but I mean, that's a lot of parents telling them not to do it. And then the other way around is like, I don't feel like the construction industry is appealing to kids either. Like I know some of these, like ABC, they try their best, and AGC tries their best, and even some governors and like Senate people will try their best to put programs together that support the trades.
Right.
But even then, it's like let's build this thing at this school, and then let construction people give 9-year-olds brochures.
Right.
Like it's not actually reaching the problem.
Right.
Or the programs are like supporting a section of people that already want to get in the trades.
Right.
Like I love Boy Scouts and I love that kind of stuff. But when you throw a whole bunch of money at Boy Scouts are probably already going to come out and be welders. You know what I'm saying? That's just who that person is.
Right. They're hands-on. They're merit badge.
Exactly. You need to somehow get in front of the people that aren't that way.
Right.
And I think that's what we're missing. I really do.
Well, and you think about it too. I mean, the opportunities that I've had to speak in front of youth groups and things like that. I'm not necessarily the best catalyst for that information. I mean, we're talking about showing folks a way to come out of school at 17, 18, 19 years old, pick up a very specific skill with the specific training and the apprenticeship programs that we all offer. The person that needs to tell that story is the apprentice that went through the program.
Yeah.
The person that at 17 or 18 years old, decided that was the best path for them, has moved through the promotional, ladder, I guess, of those apprenticeship programs, not, the owner of a steel erection company or a painting contractor, or, it needs to be someone who has made that move and invested in themselves and is now reaping the rewards of having learned that, that task. And
yeah, I fully agree. A little side topic to this, like when it comes to like helping people understand what kind of potential they have as an employee in this kind of space, I feel like you're always going to have the people that just want to put their heads down, just want to grind on the job and just get it done, go home, eat dinner, no ambition to like grow past that.
Right.
Then you're going to have the other people that before they get into this role, they want to see some kind of really cool progression plan. I always think about Ingersoll Rand. Do you know them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had, I don't know if they still have it. I don't want to speak for them, but they had an HR program a while back where they would let you go in straight out of college. You go into the first HR program as HR blank, right? They'd move you after 6 months to HRY, and then move you over 6 months to HRZ, and it was all these different categories that had something to do with HR, but they weren't the same thing.
Right.
And then after you finished this program, you were this super well-rounded HR person, and then you got to choose what you preferred.
Yeah.
And it was like this, they all knew that if I was there for 4 years, I'd be a senior level HR in a direction of my choice. And that got them so many HR employees.
Right.
Like they just were flooding and applying, please give me your job,
Right.
while other people were struggling to get them.
Well, the industry, I think, has hurt itself in that regard. And having gone through that myself, when I was younger, there's still a lot of put your time in, and these sort of arbitrary timelines of how long you need to be a helper at this, or a project engineer or a project superintendent and then a project manager. And I think that's unique to the person and when they pick up the skill and how promotable they are, the growth of the company. And what I've noticed with young people now is that timeline needs to be very specific. And if you have promised a young person 6 months under this classification or this category or working with this team, if you wait 2 or 3 days, they're moving on. You've lost their attention. You've not done what you said you were going to do. Mm-hmm. You've not fulfilled your promise to them. And that has changed. I think, a lot of people in the industry sort of get, it's kind of like, well, you'll do this until you grasp it. Well, how long is that? When does that? And I think young people now want to know, and they're going to hold the employer accountable.
I think it's a fair thing to want to hold accountable too, because you only have one life.
Right.
I mean, if I live to a healthy age of 70 or 80, I got 50, 40 years left.
Right.
I can't be waiting on you to give me a not like crazy random number that you're just making up.
Right.
So it's like, I don't blame them for wanting more. And it's probably generations of people working with bosses that have came up with this, like, make sure you hold them accountable.
Yep.
Yeah,
right,
right. And I don't blame them. So we just need to change the way, still make it work for your company. But I think we need to change the way we promote that hiring system. It can't just be come in, make whatever you're going to make for 3-4 years, and I'll let you know when something comes open.
Well, look at the age range of the folks in the trades. If there was ever a time to be able to put a system in place and really understand where that person is in the development of that skill, task, trade, whatever it may be, we need them to move through that faster. We need them to get to that position faster, because the folks we leave, or that retire and leave the industry every day they're done. That's it. And so if we don't attract those folks, get them in the pipeline and get them promoted to where they want to go, and you're right. All we're asking them to do is do everything that we've asked them to do and hold the employer accountable to the timeline that we gave the employee. I mean, that's, so.
They just don't know that's a thing yet.
Right.
But it is. It sounds like we agree on a lot of this.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's changing, and I think if I look across most of our, client base, they really have to get this figured out, because a lot of these owners are latter in their career. They haven't done a whole lot of planning, and unless they get these young folks, where they need to go pretty quickly, they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, and we're going to be paying 2 times more for the same service because there's not going to be anybody to do it.
Right. That's right.
That's funny. Funny enough, Reese is going through a deck build right now. I hate to tell his story, but he doesn't have a mic. He got 5 quotes for this deck. It's a 6 quotes. It's a standard deck. Right. What was the size on that?
16 by 20. There's nothing special about it whatsoever.
Just pressure treated lumber, handrail,
composite.
Yeah.
With a rail.
Yeah.
It's not a special job by any stretch of the imagination. And
cheapest quote was what, 18?
18 on it. Yeah. Like it's
up to 25,000.
Yeah.
And that deck, the same deck used to be like 8 to 12 maybe.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And now it's because there's not enough tradesmen. They're just naming the price because they got plenty of work.
You want it or you don't.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we should move to the next question.
How do you think sharing safety protocols with the masses would affect the image of the industry?
Well, this one was obviously aimed at you, so.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a good point. I think that part of what is promoted on some of these shows and things like that is the dirtiness, the uncleanliness of the work. And again, that's part of why people watch it. It's to learn, these things that are happening in these remote places, and I get certainly all that. But I think what happens in the absence of safety protocols and seeing people without harnesses on or the proper PPE, or even something as simple as watching a lot of the home remodeling shows that I've seen, something as simple as earplugs, I think only promotes and provides fuel to that fire that the industry works unsafe. That we turn our head and we hope that that nobody sees anything, or we're just lucky.
But you don't, because the construction and industrial, I'm going to tie industrial a little in with this as well. Construction and industrial are one of the only industries that'll literally have a sign inside the main office saying we've been 3,242 days without an injury.
Right, right.
They take it the most serious.
Right. No, you're exactly right. I mean, when's the last time you walked into, a shopping center or a mall or Walmart, and they front and center have, this is how many days we've gone without, an industry accident. Construction promotes those hours, these long laundry lists of accomplishments that have happened on jobs that are specific. So, I think, again, we've done a lot of that to ourselves. Interestingly enough, being in the loss control and safety risk management business, it's interesting how many folks don't necessarily even pay attention to their own branding and marketing that may have safety issues, violations, things like that in it.
Yeah.
You just become, this is what you do every day, you become complacent. But I think anything that we can do to show that care, control, work environments that have even that signage that you mentioned in the back, or some sort of display that has, safety accolades and things like that, only help that.
Yeah, I think it'll help a little bit with parents realizing that the industry is more safe than what they realize. And I also think it'll help a lot with developers and general contractors to know that you are a safe option for them to put on their job site.
Right.
So I think it would get you, I don't know if it'd get you more work every time, but that one time is going to be the time that it does, you know?
Yeah.
And then I think with parents, it's going to be a long game. Like we're talking, put technology, put safety, put all the things that's in that direction in front of parents and kids for the next 2 or 3 years. And I think you'll come to start repairing the brand.
Right.
Because I don't think they're going to believe it at first, right? Because it's just like been too long that it's dirty jobs, right?
Yeah.
The Mike Rowe, super famous, right?
Right.
Doing his thing.
Well, and why not put, if we're talking to young people about those opportunities, specifically in the trades, why not put, someone that is in a safety role? I mean, we need young people in our industry that are promoting safe work and new ideas, fresh ideas for everything from equipment to signage and incentive programs, awareness programs, that sort of thing. And I think that speaks to a young person just as much as anything else. It might be welding, or it might be electrical, mechanical work.
Maybe even more.
Maybe even more, because for someone who has this very holistic approach and wants to help and be an advocate and a mentor, that may resonate just as much as anything else. And if they feel like, hey, I've got a couple of friends that might be in a trade school or in scouts or something like that, there's a lot of people that I think would find passion in looking out for other people. So
yeah, that sounds good to me, man. Okay, I think we should move on to the next question.
If I gave you 1% of the $1.36 trillion construction industry, how would you spend it to change the way the world sees the construction industry?
Yeah, so just to give you a little background on this. Basically, I was amazed at how large the industry was. So I thought it would be I thought it'd be big. I didn't think it would be $1 trillion, but $1.36 trillion. And I was like, how in the world is the brand so out of control with that much money? It's not the size of the tech industry, but it's not small.
Right.
It's enormous.
Right.
And with that kind of power, 1% of it, that's like millions and millions of dollars. Math quiz. What is 1% of $1.36 trillion?
1.36 billion.
That is so much money.
Right.
And you wouldn't even need that. You need like 0.01%.
Right.
Of that. But what would you do with it? If you could do anything with it to change the brand of the industry.
I think a couple things. I think I have seen a lot of the workforce development initiatives, particularly getting in the schools, work, but it's still a small percentage of schools. Several of the schools throughout the Southeast, some of the larger counties that have the resources have specific trade schools. We have Vernon Malone here in Wake County, which teaches 10 specific trades. 5 of those are construction related.
Yeah.
And that school is at capacity, has been for several years. And these are kids who are opting to go to a school that has no sports, no teams, no prom. So they're all in. The problem is that's 550 students in a county with 1 million plus people.
Yeah.
So I think those programs work, but they've got to be delivered, at a different capacity. They've got to invest in those programs. There's no real consistent brand. As you mentioned, a lot of the trade organizations have done their own.
Yeah.
They have a response to that, but I think it takes some of these larger brands, to push something out that's uniform, that's attractive, that resonates with young people. The other thing is really showing the diversity. I think some of them, like mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, have done a really good job because those needs are immense. Those are very specific trades. Many of them have apprenticeship programs. Many of the community colleges have apprenticeship programs. But that doesn't touch the diversity in the construction marketplace. I mean, if you look at your average, commercial building, there are 20, 30, 40 different opportunities for someone to create a career within those scopes of work. So to show off 1%, 10% of those trades to students is limiting their understanding of what's out there, what's possible, and I think that needs to be expanded.
Yeah, I think when I got out of school, I mean, I guess I'm the last year of the millennials, or whatever, or the first year. Would it be first year?
We're close. So I think 1986 is first year of millennials.
Yeah.
We're 1989. So
Yeah, so we're real
like
close.
Year 3 millennial. We're elder millennials.
And I still don't know how to
Senior
work with my
millennials.
hands,
Senior
right?
millennials.
Like
Yeah.
I still hire somebody for my plumbing, my electrical, my yard, like all that stuff's done just because I didn't grow up really needing to understand that stuff, right? And I feel like when I graduated high school, I thought plumbers just came out and fixed your bathrooms, and I thought electrical just came out and made the lights work. And
Right.
I didn't realize there was all this complexity to the back end of construction, and I think that's where the disconnect is. I don't think anybody knows that. Like if you think about like a huge company like Choate, for example, like how many of the white collar jobs are actually inside of a Choate organization?
Right.
You got accountants there. I'm sure they got in-house lawyers. I'm sure
Right.
they got in-house everything you could think of right now, except for like, shoot, they probably even have trainers in there. They have gyms and
yeah.
trainers.
Yeah. We were with some folks last week at an ABC event, and the whole, the presentation, as you guys were there, was on wellness and what these big companies have done to really elevate their entire workforce. So
yeah, it's insane, and people don't know that. Like, I think they all think that it's just that dirty job.
Yep.
And I think what I would do, like you were talking about these programs where you're saying they're not really in all the schools. First, I would do that for sure. I'd want them to all expand into every school, including inner city schools and like downtown schools. Because I feel like they skip those now because they want to kind of get out to the rural areas.
They're still in rural markets, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I understand why they do that, because it's like the more bang for their buck while they're spreading. But I would blanket cover everything, right? Yeah. But the other thing they're not doing is they're doing these amazing programs and not sharing it with anyone.
Right.
So why are they not like viral videos of these programs going on at schools, like where kids are building cool things and they're like sharing them out and pushing out huge campaigns to push these things out? And it's because like most of these things are government subsidized, right? So it's like you get $24 million to run this one program,
right.
But the way you tell the government you're going to do it is you're going to do this, you're going to build this for this exact group, and that's all there's included.
Right.
And they stop there.
And it ends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But if it was done by, I want to get the whole industry to get behind this, because if it's ran by the government, it's always going to stop somewhere. I want the large names to get behind it. Like I want the huge GCs and developers, even huge subcontractors, to get behind and push these programs, because then it wouldn't end. It'll keep evolving.
Right.
Because we want and need more from the community.
Right.
And I think we would do that.
No, I agree. I think you're exactly right. It's a little bit of a hodgepodge. Everybody's got the idea, and everybody has their own branding and thoughts on what it should be. Mm-hmm. But when you take all of those, that's just another opportunity to get really hot and get really cold. There's no real uniformity in who these are going to and where and when and why. What the budgets need to look like to run consistent year over year. We've just got these hot things that tend to fizzle out, and then you got to kind of relive them. So
it's hard to be ungrateful, because it's like, I mean, I think it was the governor, either a senator or governor in South Carolina. They did just raise $26 million for the trades program, for a program. It's hard to say, listen, I know your heart's in a good spot,
right?
But let's actually organize that in a fashion that makes sense.
Yeah,
because he's got his own way, he's got his own passion. But he's probably, he's probably 60 years old. Never ever thought about what it was like to be a kid in the 2020s and above, or a parent of a kid in the 2020s. And it's like, you have to have that knowledge and the ability to get in front of those kids and parents, or the program's a wash.
Right. That's right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Well, and I was talking to some folks a couple weeks ago, and it really light bulb came on for me thinking about young folks and work and summer work and think about that from a generational standpoint. Here in central and eastern part of North Carolina, a lot of people that were working through middle and high school age were on farms, and they worked on the farm. They may have been working a tobacco field or something like that. And if that's your first exposure to working in the North Carolina sun, in the middle of a flat section of eastern North Carolina,
construction's an upgrade,
right? Then working in a crawl space, is a huge improvement.
Yeah.
And so when you think about that and the jobs that are offered to young people now, it's still a lot of hospitality and things that have always been there. But a lot of those jobs that allowed some reprieve from the tasks that they had been doing are not available, or they're not doing them, or farming is done far outside, some of these areas where folks tend to move to, and you see higher densities. So that's a real thing. I mean, if these opportunities to have some exposure to the type of work that is in an unconditioned environment, or may be dirty, or may require PPE, are not available, it's only adding fuel to that perception, because it's such a shock, it's such a surprise. Again, if you've been in a tobacco field for 12 hours a day as a 14-year-old, most of the construction options are easior.
Yeah.
But
I wouldn't know. Yeah, farm work sounds hard.
Yeah, but if you've been a lifeguard, or a video gamer, during the summer, these are tough positions and tough to sell because of all the things.
And I think this is a really hard point. And if you had I think this is going back to our first conversation where we were talking about having like a very what's the word for that? Attractive way to hire someone and pull into your program and give them like a hierarchy schedule of like how they progress.
Right.
Because like right now, if you just say, hey, here's a job, you have a fast food restaurant paying the exact same amount for a starting wage of a construction worker. And then you have a call center person that's going to be sitting in AC all day making calls, making the same amount of money as a construction worker.
Right.
Like they just aren't comparable in like the amount of wear down on the body. So it's like you got to know if you're going over here that there's these steps and you're here.
Right.
Because over here in the call center, you're not going anywhere.
Right. You're
in the call center for the next 10 years. They don't care about you. You're making dials every day. You're done. You got in the AC.
Yep.
But there's no progression there. You're not going to be a superintendent. You're not going to be a project manager. You're not going to be an estimator. You're not going to have that progression flow,
Right.
I think that's...
And to be honest, I don't think when you talk about the brand, the marketing and the image, think about the value in some of these positions of just physical fitness. I mean, and Reese, you know this, being in the business, having been in the business of selling fitness and selling longevity and selling energy and all the things that are, that are big business. Yeah. Why are we not talking about the fact that, the physical demands on the job, certainly they are what they are, but a lot of these people in the industry are healthy.
That's true.
Now, all people, have their own challenges and weight and diet and all those things. And I'm not saying that construction is any different, but when you think about the offering of many of those roles to someone who is about fitness, is about longevity, is about energy, there's a lot to be said for someone who is in great shape and at 30 and 40 and 50 and maybe into 60 is climbing a ladder and nimble.
I've seen a lot of swole construction workers that don't go to the gym.
Right, right. That's right. So that that's something that I think is clearly important to young people. It's a big business. When you think about all the supplements and gyms and specialty classes now that you see. I mean, the place I go here in North Hills is there are 2-3 places. There's a cycle bar next to an Orange Theory, next to a yoga studio, next to so these are big businesses for people, and to not promote this overall wellness piece to a job that keeps you physically fit, keeps you nimble, flexible, I think is a missed opportunity.
Yeah, it's a perception thing, because I'll be honest with you, until you said that, never thought about it.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
In the industry that we've been in, same. Like I never.
We even work with commercial construction, and we have never thought about that.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. Way better than call centers. Way better than banking.
Right.
Oh, don't get me started on banking. 4 years of college, pop out, make 45 grand for your first 2 or 3 years, and then you might make 60. You're sitting on $70,000 in debt, and parents will push that. It's one of the big five.
Yeah.
So parents will push that all day long. Become a banker. Become a banker. I'm like, what? Pay your college debt off like 12 years later?
Yeah, that's right.
Like,
well, and I think what comes with that too, and you guys have seen this because you grow and you mature, is that lifestyle beyond the debt and the job and I dare to say limited opportunities, some less than some construction opportunities, but it also comes with the dress.
yes.
It comes with having to have your shirts dry cleaned. It comes with having to buy ties. It comes with going to $15, $16, $25 lunches. It comes with driving a certain car. So when you think about all the things that we're talking about today, construction typically doesn't come with any of that. There is no,
I have been trying to get Reese to let me buy a Prius.
Yeah.
And I want to wrap it as a crane. So you see how we have the cannonball?
Yeah.
So I want to wrap the Prius in just a giant monkey cannonball, and then drive it to these events where all y'all are driving your trucks.
Yeah.
And we just pull up in our little Prius with a full wrecking ball on.
I like it.
I think it would be.
I got two
Spot
words
on.
for you guys. Not happening.
He's 100% against it.
Yeah, I'll drive it off.
I do have him talk. What do I have you talked into? You
Mini
said
Cooper.
the Mini Cooper.
All right.
Oh.
He's cool with the Mini
Prius?
Cooper.
No way.
But if it was a 2500 Duramax diesel, or maybe like a F-250, maybe the new Lightning, you can meet in the middle, the electric truck.
The electric truck.
Yeah.
People make fun of
this
us.
idea.
And it's got the frunk. Have you heard of the frunk?
Yeah.
What is that?
Front trunk.
Yeah, it's a front trunk.
Yeah, the front.
So there's no motor. So you open it up and it has,
More space.
That's pretty cool.
yeah, it's a frunk.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, let's move on to the next question.
I wanted to correct myself, by the way. 1% of 1.36 trillion is 13.6 billion.
Oh, it was more than what we said.
Yeah, because it's 100 times 13.6 billion.
We're not good at
Oh.
math, but that just makes the
failed my
So a
conversation.
billion is 1,000 millions. A
Right.
trillion is 100 billions.
Right.
Yeah.
No, a trillion is 1,000 billion.
Oh.
1% of 1.36
It's 13.
trillion is 13.6 billion.
I
Got
bet if we had a lot of accountants do some actual work and like some actuary work on this exact topic, I bet the industry spends less than 50 million combined across
Agreed.
all of
The country?
America on this
Agreed.
topic.
Agreed.
Oh, yeah. I would say that's a lot. That would be, yeah.
Yeah. Think about how many. And
That's
I'll
nothing in the grand scheme of things.
No.
I'll just add this too. Think about how many Super Bowl commercials that would be. Like 13.6 billion. Like you could run all the Super Bowl commercials pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
Every year.
They're what,
Yeah.
5 million for 30 seconds?
Right. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a lot of Doritos.
That's a whole lot of Doritos.
Oh, I wish we weren't doing an interview right now.
Take a picture of this.
Yeah, I have a photo that's worth.
Okay.
It's worth
I'm
world.
ready.
It's worth more than 1,000 words.
I'm ready.
Question 4. This goes towards what you guys have been talking about, anyways. Do you think we can turn around the interest level of our younger generations?
Yeah. So do you think it's a lost cause, or do you think it's actually possible?
Absolutely not. I think this is where in my opinion, where we were headed. So a couple days, as we have across North Carolina, we've had a pretty deep freeze. With the limited workforce that we have, who do you call? Heat pump goes out. You've got an old system. House won't heat or cool. There's only a limited number of people in every market to service those units. And I think if we continue down the path that we're in, on those days, and those days that we see in May and June when the systems go out and it's very hot, you will pay a deposit. To get a technician to your home, you will have a deposit, and that'll be hard money paid into a service technician to come out, and without it, you won't get it. And so if we don't jump on board today with all of these things that we're talking about, it'll scare you what it's going to cost you to have somebody come look at that system or particularly fix it in the future. Because at some point, somebody can pay and somebody can't. And so think about that for a minute. Instead of $150 an hour for a technician to come out and service a heat pump, what was $1,000? And when you live in a dense area with limited, technicians, who's going to get the service? The person that can pay for it. And so just old supply and demand. And so I think we can fix it. If we don't, we got really, really big, we got really big problems coming.
Yeah, I tend to agree with all that. And I'm a marketer, so I think branding and marketing fixes a lot of things. But if we're talking about like in the economy, I think there's this thing. I'm already hearing it, right? Like, be an electrician. You can name your price. Like, I'm hearing that come out of people's mouths
Yeah.
and faces, right? And the reason we're hearing that is because they're seeing the limited choice, and they're seeing people ask for more to do things like the deck or like that pump. And I think people are actually saying you should go into that because they can name their price, and there's not a lot of people to compete with. And I think we're hearing that a lot more from parents. So I think organically it'll change over the long term. It might be a while,
Yeah.
if we don't put any effort into it, but I think it would change back, because I think in a capitalist government, like where we were like really opportunistic on how we expand and what we grow into, I think when they see that opportunity, they're going to start promoting it.
Well, and what's the cost if we let it go that long to where you are paying $300, $400, $500 an hour because the demand is there and someone will pay it?
Mm-hmm.
It does get fixed.
Yeah.
But what's the cost when it's $1,000 deposit to have somebody come look at your heat pump? I mean, there are some other social issues and challenges that come with that extreme, as there are with the other extreme. But but you're right. I mean, we're headed in that direction.
Yeah.
But there's some significant challenges if we let it go too long.
Yeah. Since we've been in ABC for the last 2 years, we've been able to. You were probably there too. We got to hear that economist speak both years, and they're all doom and gloom. They don't ever have a solution to what they're talking about.
Right.
But it is what it is. But the last time they spoke, it was like, I think they were like 6% of kids under the age of 30, which I guess that's a kid. Under the age of 30 is like, well, we're not interested in 2019 or 18, one of those years. And in 2020, it was down to 4.
Yeah.
So it's not going in the right direction.
Right.
And I think we're going to run into that wall. But I hope we just get together as an industry and attack this topic.
Yeah.
Because if we do, I'll be able to assist.
Yeah.
And then also it'll get done.
Well, we got to do what we say we're going to do. Just like we talked about early in the conversation. If we lay out these programs and invest in these systems, we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to the future of the organizations, the industry itself, the trade associations, to do what we say we're going to do. And if that means that, if an employer decides that someone can move from A to Z in a year through an apprenticeship program into whatever role that they've promised that person, we owe it to ourselves to hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
And I think we can do that as an industry. And I think but it is a cultural shift to do that, because we like the gruff, work, you'll be ready when I say you're ready kind of thing. And that's just not the environment we're in anymore.
We're getting that taste over the last 2 years of dealing with commercial construction. We're starting to really understand. Like, we've dealt with $20 million companies that have websites that don't even fit to your mobile screen, and like we're like fixing their brand, and they have none of this hiring stuff in place whatsoever. And, which is crazy, because that size of company in any other industry would have an entire HR team with that entire portfolio set up perfectly. Like, it's just a missing piece.
Right.
I think we're gonna have to evolve. It's not gonna be a choice. I think what's that? Monteith Construction. They do a great job at being at the front of trends. Like, I feel like they're on the other side of the construction industry. They do a really good job of pulling all that together. Like, they're always pushing, like, I don't really believe in the vaccine stuff, but they push that pretty hard. But they also push safety really hard. They push diversity really hard.
Yep.
So I guess they're on the positive side of all those things.
Well, our industry can't do it without people. And I think you've seen very good construction companies and very well ran specialty subcontractors who have become very people-centric, not just process and not product-centric, but people-centric. And they understand that they're only as good as the wellness of their employees. We see that in the employment testing, game, making sure that the companies are hiring people who can physically do the job. Yeah. And we say that all the time. You can train, you can have the best policies, procedures, best safety program, best, most expensive, most capable PPE and equipment. But if you hire somebody who's got a pre-existing condition, is already broken, has an ailment, and they cannot physically do the job, not only have you set them up for failure, but you set their team up for failure, because somebody is going to have to make up the difference, in the work that they can't physically do. So you've seen a lot of companies really jump in with both feet to say, we're different, we're about our people are our brand, we're going to tell their story. And then you've seen some, it's interesting having watched that in construction, that still to this day have done nothing. They watch their competitors blow their doors off. They watch
Yep.
their competitors hire their people. They watch their competitors steal the work that they used to get and the clients that they used to get, and they still just sit idle.
They're like, it's word of mouth. I'm good. I'm happy where I'm at. Business is bad because it's bad.
Right. How's
Not
your
because I
revenue? It's
didn't
down
evolve.
again. It's down again. It's down again. And they just sit on the sideline. It's crazy. I mean, but you wouldn't see that in any other industry. People would change. They would adapt. They would find new ways.
Getting competitive analysis is normal in other industries.
Right.
When I say that to people in construction, they know what it is, but it's like, no, I've never done that.
Yep.
I'm like, what? You do $100 million in work a year and you've never done a competitive analysis? Like,
Right.
what are you talking about?
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's just not a thing that happens really often. I have a little bit of a side question that kind of goes off of this.
Yeah.
So I know the trades, like the actual like physical trades, is a problem, but I've also been hearing people complain about getting estimators and project managers.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think we hold those positions with too much like serious, like we like want somebody to do the trade part for multiple years before we let them become an estimator? Or do you feel like that position could be trained directly out of like the community? Like we hire somebody directly out with no experience, train them on how to be an estimator.
Oh, I think you can, and I think if the industry had a better brand,
Yeah.
you'd have a lot more people coming from those industries to
Yeah.
say, "I've always wanted to know what it really costs to build this highway." You know, I've read
Yeah.
the statistics. And I think that would be intriguing.
Mhm.
But we don't tell that story. We
Yeah.
don't do that. And but I think you're absolutely right. I think if we could. That goes back to the diversity in what we're selling and the
Mhm.
brand that we're selling and the depth of what's available. And that's
Yeah.
everything from the safety professional to the superintendent to
Yeah.
engineers, architects, people who do
That's-
design and things like that. That's all part of this
Mhm.
great industry, but
Mhm.
very few pieces of that are really shown off and
It
marketed.
really is very rare, because that's how I know there's a real brand problem, because I understand the actual trades being low because it's hard work, right?
Right.
You kind of have to be interested. But all the other positions, I don't understand at all.
Yeah.
Like estimating, project management, safety, all those are great positions that pay good money
Right.
immediately, like
Right.
now. There's even positions that take like little certifications. You can go get 8-week little classes on and like make good money on those things.
Yep.
I think you were telling me about that.
Well, and it's those little small details that I think have never made its way into the story. I mean, look at just, typically people associate themselves as being either morning or night people. In the
Yeah.
construction business, it usually starts early. A lot of folks are working 6, 7 a.m. to
Yeah.
3 p.m. How many other people in other industries get off at 3 o'clock every day that are working a traditional work schedule, not a shift, where they're working first, second, or third shift? But
Mhm.
I mean, that is extremely valuable to someone who, think about the wellness space. There are people who get there every day at 5 a.m. They lift their weights, they have their shake. That's how they do it. They do it on Saturday. They do it on, they may, whatever the case may be, but they're morning workout people. You go at night, there's night workout people. We don't tell the story that the industry offers an ability to stay in shape and stay focused and get off every day at 3 o'clock and,
Yeah, 3
and
o'clock
still
thing's nice.
half your day left. I mean, look at
Yeah.
the hours remaining after in the summertime. You're off 3:30. You beat traffic home if you're in Charlotte or Raleigh or Atlanta, and you've got 5 or 6 hours left in your day. That's
Yeah, you save a solid hour beating Charlotte traffic.
right. I have literally stayed in that Hilton in downtown and watched people at 5 o'clock run out of those bank offices to the
Trying to
parking
get
deck just to beat one person, for making a left right there on Tryon Street or something. It's humorous when you watch that this mad dash.
We get charged like a solid $300 a month for the speed lane because we just get in it every time.
Yeah.
We're all about time saved, man. Like, because if you can save us time, that means I can talk to somebody, one more person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
'Cause that's 30 minutes I'm not on the road. So I really, and I'm impatient.
Yeah.
Very impatient. Okay, let's move to the next question.
Question 5, this is for Josh. What things do you do in your companies to help the way the world sees this industry?
I think we've done a relatively good job with the branding of what we do. And so we're in the safety and risk management space. So we're helping companies improve their image, improve their policies and procedures. In some cases, respond when something bad has happened. And they're being forced, to produce information, documentation, standards, that sort of thing. And I think a lot of folks, to be honest, in our industry didn't for years know we existed. And so you don't know what you don't know. They didn't know that we exist. They run across us on a social media platform or something like that, and know that there's an advocate. And if you think about a small business that's growing and growing steadily, it used to be that at one point, maybe an insurance carrier or agent or friend of the family or something said, "Look, it's you've gotten big enough. You need to hire a safety person," and we still hear that all the time. And I think just being able to offer a pretty robust team of professionals that can help companies, when they need it, where they need it.
Immediately, my first question is, what is a safety person?
Yeah.
Like I maybe they know more than I do, but like I wouldn't even know where to start with that. Like somebody's just going to make sure everybody's wearing hard hats and.
Well, and they do, and the funny part of that is that we still find a lot of companies where the safety person is either an underperforming superintendent, someone that everybody loves, has a great heart, but worked on projects that never made money. And so eventually the way to salvage that person's employment is to make them the safety director. So we laugh about that in here. And number two, the person at the company over the course of their business who has become the most hurt. So the person who went through some catastrophic event or was just clumsy and had the most incidents or accidents becomes the token safety person.
Makes sense, like the influencer because they ran through the problem.
They have the stories, they're missing something, and so, we laugh about that. But, I think just in the promotion of what we do, that, hey, you don't have to have the expense and the payroll or revenues to support a full-time person. We can help you, where you need us, when you need us. And if that's job costed support on a job that where you're really at the corner of Main and Main and you got a lot of visibility and you want to make sure things are done the right way, we can do that. If you've got one or two people that just need a training class because they're getting ready to report to a project that requires some additional fall protection and you want to make sure they're prepared to do that, we do that as well. So just promoting what we do has helped companies that may have thought the only option was to go out and hire the safety person. Which comes
or lie about it and hope they don't get caught.
Right. Or fake it, or rip a program off the internet and put your name on it. And there's
people don't always like safety people, but there's one fact is they pretty much always make it safer, and people go home with their stuff intact. When they listen to all the rules. Yeah. Like if I had $1 for every time I heard somebody fuss about a safety person on a job.
Well, and that's another branding issue. Our folks are either we call them safety coaches, and they're either on-site safety coaches or OSCs, or they're roving around to different projects and providing those support services multiple times a day on different sites. We call those FSCs, field safety coaches. But I think even that in our organization speaks to what the job is. The job is to coach. It's not to it's not to be a dictator. It's not to come down on people. It's really to be a coach and to be an advocate and to be an asset to them at the end of the day. But that has changed. That's only been in 4 or 5 last 6 years.
I was about to say, because I feel like the brand of it was the opposite of that about 7 or 8 years ago when I was at United Rentals.
Yep.
Because I remember going to job sites talking to the superintendent, and they'd be like, oh, the safety guy just got on. We're gonna have let me check my job site.
We have to do everything different now. Yep.
I'm like, oh, is that really how this works?
Yeah, you're exactly right.
People like you are changing the way that feels.
Well, I think that's meeting the industry where they are, and that's hiring people who have the situational leadership and emotional intelligence and awareness to be a coach, not to be, an enforcer. And that's all about training and helping people and recruiting and hiring people, retaining people that want to be coaches. So we joke in our office often that the old school safety person's trajectory, was the person in high school with no friends who either becomes the state trooper or the safety person. They love the authority. They want to get back with somebody. They want to find things doing wrong. And we find consulting groups in our own market that their job, what they love to do is catch people doing the things that are wrong. Is do as I say.
That makes zero friends.
Right. And so it goes back to, it's the person that nobody likes. But again, we have done that as an industry to ourselves.
I've never understood that either, because even companies outside construction does this a little bit, because like they'll like the regional manager will be coming to the office, and then you'll see the GM go, hey, everybody, clean up and put all these things in the right places, make sure all these labels are correct.
Right.
You're not actually fixing anything. All you're doing is fixing it for one day, and then sure, it's probably a little better for like 2 weeks, And then all that stuff that was already a habit is now messed up again.
Right.
You're not actually fixing the problem. You're just making somebody go chaotic for one whole day. Probably waste a ton of man hours to fix everything they didn't have in place in the first place.
Right. Right.
Like, it doesn't sound very effective. But if you coach them, train them, put checks and balances in place that are friendly, then I think you have a good setup.
Not only that, but then you're putting somebody in that role who is a great coach, but also cares for all the right reasons. And so, they're it's not put everything away and let's make it right for this one person who's coming in to observe. Mm-hmm. This is our standard. This is the way we do things. It's going to be this way every time, all day, every day. And let me show you why. Let me show you why this is important. Let me show you how much I care about you. Let me show you, it's just a different, but that's a new, like you said, that is an industry, the last 5-6 years that has really, really changed. And it's not everybody. We run into that every single day is, do it this way when nobody's looking. And then the ones are, in the happenstance that you can get away with it. Let's get this done and get back to normal.
Maybe we'll be saying the same thing about the industry brand in 6 years.
I hope so. That,
We're making the changes.
We're making the changes, and that we've got talent available, and people are coming out of other industries to look for opportunity.
Wouldn't that be amazing? I don't think I listed this as a question. What's the next question?
Basically it is. Yeah. Last question. Would you rather never run out of work or wake up tomorrow and our youth have found passion and pride in building America?
That's a good question. So I was actually at an industry dinner last night, and one of the gentlemen I was with, who was in the construction business,
question?
No, but he said,
Plagiarists.
The question was, are you motivated in an industry where there's a lot of opportunity, like it is today, by the opportunity and the financial gain due to that opportunity, or is it something else? And my response was, as someone who has always been about, the first business I ever started was an automobile detailing business. And I would pick vehicles up or have vehicles delivered in the neighborhood, bring them into my parents' garage, and I had invested in the equipment and all that. Well, the most important thing out of doing all that was the person's face when they saw the car. Mm-hmm. It was the experience, right? It was that front row seat type experience. And so for me, I would say to see the industry, because I'm always going to be in it. And you may run out of work, and we're a little bit different in the consulting space, but if these young people are excited and building America, as you said in the question, we're going to have work.
That's fair.
But if we don't change the experience, we're in trouble. And so if that is the motivator, if more people like the three of us who really want to see the experience change, the brand change, the opportunities change, the way those are classified, if we want to make sure that these employers hold themselves accountable to the opportunities that the workforce demand, those timelines, then that takes care of itself.
I think there was something cool like maybe 10, 15 years ago where you were hearing a lot of people say, like, a lot of parents would drive by and be like, I helped build that. And I feel like that was happening consistently like 15, 20 years ago. And I was pretty young, but I think I might have actually been hearing some of my parents say that back then. And they would just say that they built that, or they were a part of that factory, or they were part of this. They had pride in like whatever little piece that was where they started, and they grew to something else. And I think we just stopped believing in that, which is insane to me. Because like when you think about how young America is, and then you look at cities like New York, that didn't build itself. Right. The entire city of New York, somebody labored and built that entire city.
Right.
Beautiful work of art, huge, maybe full of assholes, but
now, not then.
Yeah, but a beautiful work, right? Like they did a lot of good work, and I think they just stopped caring about that piece of it. I think it has something to do with parents stopping to recommend. They don't recommend the construction industry anymore, so there's no pride in it. It's more that dirty thing we talked about. But I like to think about like, what would it be like if parents suggested construction as one of their big five? So like when they used to say banks, lawyers, doctors, dentists, NASA, like what if one of those fell off and construction was in there?
Right.
Because they understood the capacity of construction, how much opportunity there was there. Maybe we knocked off banks, since I don't like banks, right? So we have lawyer, medical, NASA, trades.
Yeah, yeah.
That would just, if that one thing changed, I think it would change the entire outlook of what kids do when they graduate high school.
Well, I mean, if you think about the analogy you gave in New York, um, we hand the kids an iPad at 2 years old. And from then until now, whatever those children are, they're not looking out the window. There's no I Spy anymore.
Yeah.
They're not looking. They're doing this, and so it's hard to notice the 200 foot high rise,
When you're not looking.
the windmill farm, when you're not paying attention. So not that we're going to change that, and that's a long conversation for a different day.
Yeah.
But can we promote that through those other mediums?
You can, and that's like one of our biggest pushes is getting the brand in front of the kids at the right area and in front of the parents at the right place. But it's getting worse than that. Like we're not even caught up to that yet, and we're about to go through an entire evolution. And Reese probably doesn't agree with me on this one, but I think we're about to go through a whole nother evolution of augmented reality and virtual reality. Those kids are going to go from the iPad to a headset or a pair of glasses that are going to show them a different reality in front of them. They're not even going to see what's around them anymore.
Yeah.
Like, so we haven't even caught up to this space. And we're about to take it to the next state, next phase of that.
We're more disconnected, more
like so disconnected. Like it's going to be like they're going to have their own reality. They're going to have volleyball inside of VR. They're going to have shops inside of VR. There's going to be no more malls. Like you're not going to have. They might even do teaching through VR. I don't know. Like it's going to change.
Yeah.
And it's like we're just falling so far behind. But yeah.
Yeah, that's scary. I mean, and it's. As it relates to what we're talking about, to getting people excited about what 20 years ago was a tangible product, was something you could be proud of, you could get behind, and at really no matter at what level you were engaged or involved in that structure, you were a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's challenging especially when you look at the demands on just North and South Carolina, because schools, roads, highways, retirement homes, residential construction. I mean, the needs are immense.
Yeah, the projects are going up, right? Like they're not going down.
Right.
And our opportunities going down for like employment for those people. So it's like jobs are going up, team members are going down. So automation has to take place, or we have to get our youth interested.
What if you're a building nerd? Like I guess we are. It's look how much cooler the jobs are. I mean, look at the things that we're building. Look at the changes in, technology and asphalt ceiling and the buildings that are being built in these high density areas due to logistics and materials that are being used and pre-assembly and vertical integration of different products. I mean, we're starting to build buildings like cruise ships. That's pretty neat.
I do think there's a small missed opportunity. This is my last topic. We've been talking for a while, and you probably get more out. But I think there's a missed opportunity with marketing employment opportunities for like things that are mission friendly and planet friendly. Because there's an entire population that believes that they'll go hang out in the woods to make the emissions better. They'll live in the woods in a little tiny hut.
Yep.
So I bet they would also be employees of solar panel companies, employees of emission friendly companies that they're doing something that changes that, like natural gas lines or something,
right?
Whatever the case may be, right?
If they're part of the solution, every day they're a small part of the plan. And
I think they would get behind that. I don't think I would target employment towards like rural tradespeople if I owned a solar panel company. I think I would try to say, hey, let's change North Carolina. Let's change the way North Carolina is powered.
Right.
I need your help.
Yeah.
I think I'd get a lot of applications with that.
Well, and
they might have soft hands, but
but there's probably some other. You bring up a really good point. That's a marketer's perception of how we see real change. Is let's meet people where they are. Let's appeal to their emotions. Let's, and maybe we're doing it wrong. Maybe yes, the job is dirty, but you can make $35 an hour is the wrong pitch. Maybe that pitch worked 20 years ago because people needed the money and it was about the money. But I think young people now, other things are important.
Yeah, well, we got a lot of generational wealth. Even if you're not rich, most families are decent off because they've had multiple generations of people working.
Right.
So it's like, I don't think it's like I have to have that money right now and it has to be $4 more or I'm not going to be able to live.
Right.
It's very rare. And those are also usually the people that just kind of keep their head down and want to grind it out anyway.
But think about most of our workforce development that's been done by trade associations over the last 5 years. What's the pitch? The pitch is make good money.
We pay you a lot.
We're not going into schools talking about the cool factor of building stuff, or that we're saving the planet, or that we're keeping people safe, or that we're, able to work every day and stay physically fit and in good shape and hydrated and energetic and all these things that are around that. We're talking about money,
which is just the wrong topic.
which may not be the motivator to that audience. Yeah.
It's not to the people who wouldn't take on the job in the first place.
Right.
So it's like the people like we're talking about, like the people who are all about the planet health. That's just one example out of a million, right? But they most likely wouldn't have gotten the trades.
Right.
But if you put that mission in front of them and you get 2 or 3% of them, yeah, that's a huge portion of people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Just something to think about. But thanks for sharing with me today. I really appreciate it.
Sure, this was awesome. Well, thanks for you guys are doing to get that message out, and I think it's probably going to take folks that do what you do and do so well to change this, because our message has stayed the same, and we still have gaps. We still need the people, and so
well,
that's
I
awesome.
appreciate that. I'll send everything over to you when it's done.
Awesome.